Hey guys, it's Alex, and today I want to talk to you very briefly about negotiation, how to be better at it. Frankly, I'm really confused about how still people have such a challenging time negotiating for something. But bad deals and bad negotiating is like at an all-time high. Whether you're negotiating for the price of a house, for the price of a car, or negotiating with your spouse about what's going on your pizza tonight, don't be confused with, I didn't negotiate well, with, I didn't know what I wanted in the first place. The mistake is in that sentence right there. It is one thing if you don't know what you want or what you're willing to pay or willing to eat on a pizza, and then you start discussing it and you end up with a pizza you didn't like, or a car that is way overpriced and a house that is way too big for you and outside of your budget. It is one thing if you didn't know going in what to expect. Number one mistake, never do that. Think before you do everything. Negotiation is about understanding what you are willing to give and ultimately what you are not willing to give. If under any circumstance you do not want to have sausage on a pizza, never let anyone negotiate to put sausage on a pizza. Now, forget the pizza. If we're talking about things that matter a bit more than pizza, you just need to know what you are willing to compromise on, what you are not willing to compromise on. The result should only be one of two things. The first thing should be, well, let's go back to the pizza. If sausage is going to be on that pizza, then you don't want any part of the pizza. If you know that going into the evening, you are absolutely 100% not going to eat anything with sausage on it, a pizza might get ordered, but you're not going to eat it. That's knowing what you're willing to compromise on and what you're not willing to compromise on. It's in situations where you state there is no way you're going to have sausage on a pizza. The pizza comes and you eat the pizza with the sausage on it, that you are shouting out to the world around you, even if it's the house around you, that you are actually willing to make a deal on something and not hold your stance. If you are purchasing a home and it is $20,000 more than you are saying you're willing to pay, and then you end up paying that, well then you're terrible at negotiating, because what you have done is you haven't really decided what you're willing to give and what you're not willing to give. You made a statement, but you didn't really mean it. So 1000% key to negotiation is knowing what you're willing to give and being willing to walk away when it becomes outside of your parameters and you can see the other party isn't willing to budge. Most times, if you show a spirit of cooperation and you make it very clear and you set expectations up front of what you are willing to do and what you are not willing to do, and you stand by those decisions and statements in the course of your life and everything you do, you will begin to have a reputation of when she or he says this, he means it. She means it. Because in the history of dealing with you, you don't bend when it comes to certain things. Now, also a key to negotiation is to say, I'm not willing to bend on this. Here's where I am willing to compromise a bit. And then you bring light to the things you are willing to compromise on. You might not be willing to compromise on price in certain circumstances, but you may be willing to compromise on features. Whether or not that's a tangible item like a house isn't really important. Say it's a job, your career, and a salary that you're anticipating. You can have a bottom line figure that you are not willing to move away from. If you say to someone, I need to make X amount per year because I am worth X amount of a year and here is why, and you're also willing to say, now, if that is outside of what you consider the competitive rate, here's what I'm also bringing to the table for that amount of money. And then you're highlighting the benefits of hiring you and getting away from it just being 100% about salary, because most people when they are trying to make a deal with you, all they really want is to feel like they're getting more than what they're paying for. Everyone. So you can see how if the mindset of both people is, I must get more than what I'm actually paying for, you're going to butt heads if you stay on that concrete of a point. But if you highlight other things outside of price, you're bringing in information into the negotiation that's going to change the focus of the conversation, and you're going to draw out benefits, and those benefits hopefully begin to outweigh the price. And that is what somebody's going to do if they're trying to sell you something. They're going to do the opposite. They're going to say, well, I know this house is $20,000 more than what you wanted to spend, but it has a pool. You might love pools. Great. That has nothing to do with if you should buy the house or not, though, because remember, before you're walking into these situations, no matter what the topic is, know what you're willing to give and what you're not willing to give, and stick to that no matter what. Don't let someone persuade you of something that you have already decided. Have the mental strength and fortitude and confidence in yourself to know what's best for you, to not let anybody else dissuade you. You can be comparable to certain things, but I'm talking about the things you're not willing to compromise on. It is respectable to go into conversations laying that out up front, setting expectations, letting them know that this is where you stand. And this way, when they bring up those things later in the conversation as if they didn't hear you, you can then use tactic number 2, which is another one of my favorites, act like a child. And here's what I mean. When you give a child a piece of candy and you say, that's it, no more candy, they'll get used to it after a while that mommy really means no or daddy really means no. But the first thing they're going to say is, why? I don't understand. Why wouldn't you give this to me? Why don't you understand that if I want this, you should be giving it to me? And I mean acting like a child in terms of your reaction. When you have set expectations up front, you have shown that you are willing to compromise on certain things, and you are listening and actively engaging in the conversation and acknowledging what the other person has to say. If they come to you and act like you never did that, you should act shocked and amazed. I'm confused. Maybe I should go over this again, because when we first started this conversation, I let you know what I was willing to do, what I wasn't willing to do. And unfortunately, if we can't meet within those parameters, after I have displayed I'm willing to bend a bit on your end, then we can't make a deal. And sometimes, you guys, you won't be able to make the deal. But I tell you this, if you go in with that approach, most times you will make the deal. I like to use the 80-20 rule all the time in sales. When I'm talking about sales, 20% of the work you do is what brings in 80% of the money. Well, in this particular case, the odds are actually in your favor. The more you hold ground, the more you are accessible in a conversation and very clear about what you are willing to give and what you're not willing to give, 80% of the time you will get what you want. It is about sticking to your guns and not letting that individual that you're talking to talk you into something that you weren't prepared for. And it works 80% of the time, because the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, most people do cave. Most people do take a bad deal because they aren't sure of themselves. And for no other reason than that, salespeople and human beings and anyone you talk to has talked to other people before you in their life, and human nature is something they are really familiar with if they are successful in a sales career. If they are in a successful relationship, they're going to know you, okay? And if you allow people to bend you, it's because they're trying it because they've been so successful doing that with people before. So if you are the one person that walks in the car dealership that is actually able to walk away because you have made up your mind, odds are you're going to get what you want. because that person ultimately wants to close the deal. Now they're betting on you walking in, cash in hand. The odds of you wanting to go home with a car are really high, so they feel like they can get you. Don't be that person. Don't be that person in anything you're negotiating, and you will become someone who actually gets their way a lot more often than not. I hope you found this successful so far as something you can take from it to use the next time you have to negotiate anything. And until I talk to you next time, I hope you have happy, healthy conversations, but don't let anybody bend what you know you've already decided on, even though they might be convincing in the conversation. Stick to your guns and get your way. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.